Welcome back. John Hugg is back with us, specializing in estate planning, business succession planning, and elder law, and is a frequent speaker on those issues and host of informational seminars throughout the Seattle area. Welcome back, John.
Thanks, Ben. It's good to be back.
How are you today? You enjoying your first day of spring?
You know, I didn't even know it was the first day of spring.
Oh, man.
Didn't pay any
You must have not been looking for something to write a monologue on for this morning.
No, actually, I wasn't.
It's all right. I gotcha. So, John, you know, in spring, I think that people get excited about the new things that can come up. And certainly doing some legal things is one of those. Well, I think it's one of those things you can do if you get rid of all the clutter. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, this is, creating a trust or a will is something you need to do.
Right.
Talk a little bit about maybe what a trust is. Sure. And how people can use them.
Yeah, a trust is really nothing more than a vehicle to be able to hold assets for the benefit of somebody else. So at its most simple, at its most basic, I could say, Ben, I give this cup to you to hold in trust for Glenn. There you go. We created a trust. You're the trustee.
It almost sounded like you were going to marry me or something.
No,
I give you this.
I give you this.
I give you this cup. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
So no, that's just as basic as it gets. And of course, you can set up trusts for all kinds of different purposes and for all kinds of different people. So we're talking about who do we want to protect. So again, Glenn's question: who do you want to protect? Your son and your wife, right?
Yeah.
And so,
thank you. You just got brownie points.
So I mean, that's basically exactly who I am trying to protect as well. My children and my wife. So you may you'd set up a trust for their benefit. So if you're talking about setting up a trust for your kids, what would you do and how would that work? So you could put the language into your will. So if it's time to go out and get a will and update it, and you want to make sure that your kids are taken care of, you would add a trust into your will. And why would you do that? Well, the reason you would do that is if you have minor children, if your kids are not of age yet, and something happens to both you and your spouse, then your child is basically going to inherit your estate. If they inherit the estate outright while they're still children, the court will be involved, and the court will appoint somebody to oversee those assets until the child reaches 18, the age of majority. And here's kind of the rub for most of my clients. If that's the situation, at 18, that's when the kids actually get all the money outright. No more strings attached. And most of my clients don't want to do that. They want to...
Because you're not responsible at 18?
Well, that's their thought, yes. And probably accurate in most every circumstance. So, or you create somebody who isn't going to be tremendously productive or something. So we set up a trust, and we state exactly how everything is going to be used and how you get the money out, how it'll be invested, who will be doing that for you, and most importantly, when the trust will terminate, because you can set the age at which your child or children will get everything outright, maybe to be 30, 35, or 40. Generally, I recommend older as opposed to younger, so that if you're making mistakes, if you will, financially or relationship mistakes, maybe you'll do that when you're younger, and then once you have more life experience, those won't be mistakes any longer. But during that period of time, the trust can protect those assets from those types of situations.
Do you see people maybe not, they don't want to go through they don't want to go through the process? Is that why people don't? You said, you said what some major percentage of people don't even have wills, let alone trusts. Even if you have no money, you should probably have a will, right?
Correct. I think you should have, I think pretty much everyone with even just a little bit of assets, or certainly anyone with children, should have a will. And if you have children, then you should definitely have a trust within that. And the reasons for the high percentage of people not engaging in estate planning, my understanding is money being one. It's not tremendously expensive, and it's certainly more cost effective to actually do an estate plan in most circumstances. But I think a lot of people don't do it because they just don't think, well, this isn't going to happen to me tomorrow, so I can put this off. I can continually put this off until another day, until they can't put it off anymore.
At which point in time they probably can't do it anymore.
Exactly. So yeah.
So when people go about, the trust, so the trust is within the will, and it's going to protect, basically going to hold some money back. It allows you to really determine when they get the money. This is for college. This is for when you turn 30.
Exactly.
And this is for the whatever it may be.
Right.
But then there's also some special situations where it's not just about giving them money, but you'd even mentioned some tax situations and.
Right. So, you can use trust not just for your children. You can use trust for other individuals, your spouse, for instance. So one fairly common situation, if you are fortunate enough to have a taxable estate, you can use a trust or any series of trusts that will minimize estate tax or even, in some cases, eliminate the estate tax. You basically leave everything in trust for your spouse, and then when your spouse passes away, everything would pass to your children, and you could set it up so that that money would continue to remain in trust for your children and down through the generational line. So that's one circumstance where you can address tax planning. But another circumstance that's more common and sort of intertwines with what Glenn was talking about with older individuals and living longer is you can set up a trust for a spouse in anticipation that that spouse may become disabled or not be able to take care of themselves, and fund that trust with certain assets that will protect assets of the estate for future generations, and then will also allow you to supplement the surviving spouse's needs with the extra money, and still allow them to qualify for whatever public benefits, assistance benefits are available. The main program being Medicaid. Now, Medicaid as opposed to Medicare, and the reason I mentioned Medicaid is because that's the primary public program to receive where you're going to have long-term care costs assisted with. So you can still qualify for those benefits and have a trust set up for your benefit. Use those funds to supplement and improve your quality of life as you're aging, and then hopefully, with any luck, leave some behind for your family.
So here's a question for you that I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't know. I don't necessarily know either, which is why I have you here. But so let's say you don't have a ton of money, but you have life insurance. Mm-hmm. So let's somebody's out there and they have kids. They don't have $1 million or $2 million right now, right. But maybe they have $2 million in a term life insurance, so that for their kids, that's the whole point. That is really when this document becomes huge, right?
Absolutely.
It's not about necessarily the money now,
right?
But it's kind of that second barrier of protection, because if you die and you have life insurance, which hopefully you do, if you have kids, and especially if they're minors, that's where this big dollar amount comes into play.
Right. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Most people have, they're going to have a house, but it's probably mortgaged. So the net that you've got maybe not be a huge amount. And then you're going to have some savings and some retirement. But again, that may not be millions for most people. But again, you go out, you buy some life insurance. Maybe it's $500,000 on each spouse or $1 million on each spouse. Again, probably term. Maybe if you've got more available, Sure. It could be something else. But then when both spouses are deceased, the policy would pay off to essentially to the trust for the children's benefit. And yes, that's where all that money comes in. And then it's managed. You set, as I said, you select the trustee to determine who's going to manage it, and you basically lay out how it's going to be managed and when they can get at it. And it's a really good, useful tool to be able to protect your children, to protect your spouse, and other individuals.
Well, John, we have to go to break, but I think that I would say that would be something people don't think about. I don't have the money now, but if I do die, there is a life insurance policy, and that's that's kind of what you're managing. It might not be your money you have now.
That's correct. Yeah, exactly.
And that seems to kind of connect the dots, at least for me.
Right. And certainly everyone should have some life insurance if you've got kids, just for this specific purpose. This
Sure.
is what it's for.
Well, John, thanks so much for joining us. Stick around for just a minute. We have to go to break, but